Hello everybody, my name is Godline3639. Welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, it's going to be another top 5 video, and in this one, it's going to be on the top 5 meta decks on the July 2021 format post, July 2021 ban list. Now, technically, we're not even in this format yet. I'm recording this on Monday, June 28th, and the ban list does not take effect until Thursday, July 1st. So technically, we're not even in this format yet, but we already have some information on it. There was a Pro Play Games tournament with 128 people in Florida that happened this past weekend that was able to use the new ban list because it wasn't a Konami sanctioned event. And then we actually got some information on what the top 16 is, and honestly the top 16 is going to be somewhat surprising once we get into it. So yeah, we already have somewhat of an information to it, but I still want to let you guys know it's still super early. We're not even in the format yet. So this is more going to be a prediction for me on what the top 5 decks are going to be. It may be right, maybe it'll be wrong, but right now we're just not in the format. Not everyone's playing the format just yet. You know, like the Extravaganza was yesterday. They were not allowed to play with the current ban list because, again, the current ban list is still not in effect and stuff like that. So this is just more of a prediction, but we still do have some information on it and what I'm going to cover in this video as well. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Starting off with the top 16 breakdown of the Pro Plays Game tournament that happened in Florida. So yeah, I turned off my camera for this so you can see the whole thing for yourself here. Starting off with Virtual World, who actually topped the entire event. Virtual World player actually won the entire event on this, but out of the top 16, 3 Virtual Worlds ended up making it in, which was a 19% cut rate there for them. That is very, very interesting. Maybe Virtual World comes back after this. Maybe because, you know, Dragon Link is gone and stuff like that. A lot of control decks, it looked like, to be in this format. Virtual World topped. So this can be very interesting to watch here, just in the entire format. Next thing up was Sky Striker, which ended up taking second place. And out of the top 16 was, again, 3 of them, which would be 19% of the cut here. Now that's very interesting as well. A lot of people on the hype train for Sky Striker, and it looks to be paying off so far in the format that hasn't technically started yet. So yeah, very interesting that it got second place. This is going to be a very interesting deck to watch because, again, Engage 2-1 is now officially going to happen. And, you know, Sky Striker, a lot of people are hyping it up, and it looks to be paying off so far. Then we go down to a 13% cut here. 2 Shaddoll Invokes here, which is not surprising. Again, didn't get hit. Nadir stayed at 3 and stuff like that. Not surprising to see that there. 2 Outreach, which is very interesting as well because one of the decks were Zombie Outreach. If you don't know, I am a Zombie Outreach player myself, so that's I'm very happy to see that. And another one was just a Stun Outreach deck as well. And then we go into just a 6% cut, which was just 1 each of the decks here. Was Machine Earthbox, which again was in the last format, and not surprising, it didn't get hit, so why it would be in this format as well. Only 1 Drytron, which is very, very interesting because a lot of people, it didn't get hit. It's very powerful, and it didn't, you know, didn't really do that good. At least in the top cut, only 1 Drytron deck made it, so that's very interesting. Then we got 1 Salamangreat, again, a Mirage Stallion back to 1, and it actually got a top cut this time as well, so that's very interesting to watch. 1 Mech Knight Invoked as well, with 1 Prank Kid, and surprisingly, 1 Tribegage, just pure Tribegage. That's very interesting because a lot of people were expecting this deck to actually be the best deck in this format, and now it only got only one top out of the top 16 in this entire format. So yeah, that is the breakdown. Now let's get into my honorable mentions for the video. Starting off, my honorable mentions is Dragon Link. Now this is very interesting because, again, it didn't see any top cut whatsoever, and it got hit really hard on the ban list as well with LP and Striker Dragon. LP ban and then Striker Dragon going to 1, but I'm still going to put it on the honorable mention list. I'm not going to completely take it off the list just yet. Dragons are the most supported archetype in the entire game. I would not be surprised if Dragon Link eventually came back. Maybe it takes a format or 2 for it to come back, but I think it's not done just yet. Yes, it's not as powerful as it used to be, and that's why it's in the honorable mentions and not in the top 5 or anything like that. But I still don't want to say this deck is completely out of the meta just yet. It's still pretty good with Striker Dragon at 1. It really does suck, but they still have plays within their deck that they can definitely use and stuff like that. So yeah, I have this as my honorable mention. I don't expect it to be in top 5 like this format, but maybe it takes a format of tuning the deck a little bit, and then maybe it comes back in the next format. But I just wanted to throw it in the honorable mention just to say Dragons is the most supported archetype in the game. I would not be surprised if this somehow came out of nowhere to keep seeing somewhat play. Next thing up on the honorable mention list is Mech Knight, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I really don't know what Mech Knight does. I haven't versed it that much. That's probably why I really don't know what it does that much. But Mech Knight's basically, if you have 2 cards in the same column, you can special summon this their monsters into that column that has the 2 cards in the same column, and it usually gets effects as well. Some has destruction effects for monsters, or spells and traps, or it can search stuff as well. Now this is very good because it's paired with the invoked package, because since the Mech Knights just special summon themselves, they don't really use a normal summon, so they use the invoked engine as their normal summon and basically control the game from there. Now it's not the best version of invoked at all. You know, invoked's been splashed with a lot of decks and stuff like that. It's still very interesting because it's still, you know, the Mech Knights can special summon themselves, they get effects and stuff like that to destroy spells and traps and monsters and stuff, and they still have the invoked engine to rely off as well. So it's still very interesting. It's not the best version of invoked if you're going to play invoked splashed with something else, but you know, it's still a very good deck, and a lot of people like to play it as well. It's just an honorable mention for me, but yeah, a lot of people do like to play, and we definitely saw it can do something because it did make a top cut into the top 16 as well. Next thing up on the honorable mention list is Salamangreat. Yeah, this is not in the top 5 or ever. Yes, they got Mirage Stallion back. Absolutely amazing for the Salamangreats. I don't think it's going to do that much, though. I don't think they're going to be shot up to tier 1 or the top 5s of the decks and stuff like that. Mirage Stallion is a very good support card, yes, and we are moving more into a control format. Like, there's basically only one combo deck in this entire format that we have currently seen so far, and I'll get to that deck in a little bit. But yeah, so a lot of control decks in the format, and Salamangreat can really handle itself in a control format as well. It can play a lot of hand traps in it. It can, you know, it can sends it traps into the graveyard and then end up adding it to hand and then setting it and stuff like that. Mirage Stallion being able to get Gazelle from deck if you don't end up getting Gazelle from deck early on. Mirage Stallion can help you get that Gazelle out onto field and stuff like that, just to further your combo plays and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't think this is a really top 5 deck at all. Mirage Stallion is a very good support card. Salamangreat is like a decent deck now, but you know, there's still better decks than it though. A lot of Salamangreat players, yes, you have your Mirage Stallion back, but I'm sorry, it's not a top 5 deck to me. Next thing up on the honorable mention list is Prank Kids. You remember when this deck was actually considered one of the top 5 decks in the last format? Yeah, it's now an honorable mention in the what is it called? In this format. Now, this is a somewhat combo heavy deck but that's basically one card combos. If you draw one Prank Kids monster, you can end up just getting into combos, and after that, and then end up chain blocking and stuff like that. Battle Butler is ridiculous because basically, since the new Link 1 is out, it makes it a double Regeki and stuff. But people have figured out what to stop in this deck. I think the reason why it was somewhat of a good deck in the last format and like early in the last format is because people just didn't know what to stop in the deck. And now it's just at the point where people know what to stop in the deck. People are not really that scared of it anymore, and that's why it's kind of fallen since then. It did get a top in the top 16, so it is still a dangerous deck, but it's not as dangerous as other decks that is higher than it. But it's still a very good deck, but it's just not as good as the other decks. It has one card combos. It's Battle Butler is basically a double Regeki, which is absolutely ridiculous as well. And then it can recur itself during with its spells and stuff like that. But just right now, I don't think it's the best deck in the world. So it didn't make the top 5 for me. So it's just an honorable mention for me. Next thing up on the honorable mention list is Dinosaurs, and this is the one deck I was very surprised didn't make a top 16 cut at all. Like, there was no dinosaur representation in the top 16. That is still very surprising. Yes, Mystiolationsaurus is at 1, and that hurts your because you're going to have to end up searching it with something else. Because usually at 3 you can end up drawing one and using like Fossil Dig or Soul-Eating Oviraptor on something else. But now Misk is at 1, it makes it a lot harder for you to combo off, because you have to end up using one of your searchers to search out Misk with either Soul-Eating Oviraptor or Fossil Dig. They end up negating Mystiolation's banished effect, you end up not getting the Archosaur out. Now, I still want to put it in the honorable mentions because even though Misk is at 1 and does hurt the deck, this deck is still pretty ridiculous with the Scrap Raptor plays and stuff like that. This deck is still pretty ridiculous. And when you let it combo off, it can fucking set up really, really amazing boards. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is still a very, very good card. Again, I'm really surprised it didn't make a top 16 cut. I feel like this deck is still very good. Maybe people just have to tweak with the deck a little bit now that Mist is at 1 and stuff like that. But I would not be surprised if this deck came out of nowhere once again. Dinos is still very, very powerful, even with Mist at 1. It does hurt its consistency a little bit, and it doesn't set up for Miscellaneous on following turns after that as well. But I still think this deck is good and why but it's not good enough to make the top 5 at least. And then the last thing on the honorable mention list is Outledge, and man, it hurts me to put it on the honorable mention list because I do control Zombie Outledge as my main deck right now. Now, this is number 6. Like, this was very close to making top 5. I was really wanting to put it in the top 5, but just out of what the top cups were in the event and then just how the decks are playing out right now, man, this is number 6 without a doubt. But this ain't a top 6 list, isn't it? But yeah, this is an honorable mention list. Eldritch is a very good control deck that you have to really go into grind matches with it because it can really recur itself. Scarlet's still at 3, and stuff like that. Now people are playing White Destiny in their boards. Black Awakening is still in there as well. Zombie Eldritch is really becoming a really popular version of the deck, which, thank God, I really love Zombie Eldritch, and that's actually my main deck as well. Zombie Eldritch is one of my favorite variants of the deck. Zoo Eldritch is maybe no longer viable because Dryden is now banned and stuff like that. So, a lot of people could be going to the Zombie Eldritch variant of the deck now. And, Stun variants of the deck still exist as well. Eldritch is just a very good control deck, just not good enough to make the top 5. Again, this is number 6 and it is number 1 in my heart. But yeah, this is my final honorable mention list. So without further ado, though, let's finally get into the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Invoked Shaddoll. Now, you can switch this with Outledge if you want to. Like, they can basically switch places right now, and I would be perfectly fine with that as well if you want to switch places. But I do have Invoked Shaddoll above Outledge for me. Again, Nadir Servant wasn't hit, Schism wasn't banned, Window wasn't banned, or anything like that. This deck did not get hit whatsoever. None of the Alistair package got hit. A lot of people were expecting Magical Meltdown to get limited. That didn't happen. None of this deck got hit, and it's only number 5. It's because, again, the ban list unbanned Engage, and that's really a problem, isn't it? But yeah. It's a very good control deck. Again, it goes into its invoked engine because Shaddolls don't really need to normal summon. So they normal summon Alistair, get their invoked package, get Mechaba out. My bad, I cannot pronounce words today. I can't pronounce words on any days. What am I talking about? They get into Mechaba, and then they go into their Shaddol package. End up getting Schism set with like a couple more sets as back row as well. They end up first in control deck. Winda absolutely tears through that control deck. God tears through the combo deck, and then it has a couple sets in its back row to kind of save itself as well. It has the negation effect with Mechaba still in play as well. So it's still a very good deck. Again, it did get a good representation. It got two cuts into the top 16, which it was 13%, I think I put it as. So yeah, it's still a very good deck. It's not the best deck, and in the last format, this was probably arguably maybe the second best deck. But now in this format, number 5, maybe even number 6 in some people's eyes as well. Still a very good deck to not mess around with either, though. So yeah, this is my number 5. Coming in at number 4 is Virtual World. Really, really surprising. This deck is actually going to be in the top 5 right now. Now, technically, this probably should be number 1 because it did end up topping the event in the Pro Play Games tournament. But I have it at number 4. I'm just going to say it had a good day. Let the entire format come out first before I want to put this higher. So Virtual World is at number 4. It's a very good control deck. Yes, it used to be really brutal with VFD and stuff like that. But now it turned into this somewhat combo into a control-heavy deck and stuff like that. It still plays the Shen and stuff like that. It goes into Ultimate to Zolkin, then set Chuche, pull out, and then cheat out the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and stuff like that, and just become a control deck from there. So, you know, it's very hard. Maybe I'm just going to label it. It had a very, oh, my bad. Excuse me. Had a very good day at the tournament, and that's why I have it at number 4. I want to wait until the format fully comes out before I put this even higher. But again, it's looking very good for Virtual World just based off the tournament that happened in Florida. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting to watch because again, Dragon Link is now out. A lot of control decks are coming in to this format. This is going to be very interesting to look out for in the format as well. It plays around Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler as well, because all the card effects activate from hand. So there's that as well. So yeah, I have this at number 4. It probably could be higher because it didn't end up winning the event. I have it at number 4 now because I do think it just had a good day. I want to wait until the format fully comes out until I put this even higher. Coming in at number 3 is Tribegage. Now, this is interesting because I only got 1 top cut compared to Virtual World's 3 top cut and first place finish as well. Now, I'm just, like I labeled Virtual World had a good day, I'm going to label Tribegage as had a bad day. Because considering all the things, people were expecting Tribegage to be the best deck in the entire format going into this format, you know, but maybe Sky Striker Engage wasn't supposed to come off, and then, you know, Konami took off Engage. But a lot of people were expecting Tribegage just to go into this format as the best deck in the entire format, because in the last format, it was basically becoming the best deck there, and a lot of people weren't expecting Tribegage to get hit whatsoever. Now, it really didn't end up getting hit at all, because Trident was technically their hit, but they really don't need to use the Zodiac package at all. Because all they really use the Zodiac package is for right now is like pulling out Zeus and stuff. So this is very interesting. I'm just going to label it as I had a bad day. I'm going to wait until the format comes out, and if it is worse than Virtual World, then we're going to have to switch things around a little bit. But right now, I'm just going to put it as my number 3 just to see what it can do in this format. Coming in at number 2 is Drytron for me. Now, this is also very interesting because, again, this only had 1 cut in the entire top 16. So, technically, this probably should be worse than Virtual World and stuff like that. But, again, I'm just going to label it as the Tribegage. It just had a bad day. Drytron is really powerful right now. And that's why I don't want to put it any lower than 2, because it's a very powerful deck. Nothing got hit. Diviner is ridiculous. Mubeta is fucking ridiculous. This deck can combo off. It can play through hand traps. Some hand traps, not all hand traps. But it's a very good deck. And I'm surprised it only got 1 top cut. Again, we're going to have to wait until the format fully comes out and that everyone starts playing and stuff to really see where this deck lands up. But I do have it as my number 2. The only problem with Drytron is a lot of people are siding for Drytron right now. Like in the Drytron Virtual World format that we had a couple formats ago with, you know, VFD and Ben 10 at 3, people were really heavily siding against Drytron, and that's what it seems going to be happening going into this format as well, as people are going to be really siding heavy against Drytron. People are playing, like in this format, in this tournament, a lot of people were playing the 3 Cycle Readers in their side deck. A couple of people were maining the Droll and Lockbird in their main deck. It's just, those 2 cards can single-handedly just kill Drytron without a doubt. And then Imperm, if you end up Imperning Mubeta Fafnir, that can really kill the deck as well, because they can't detach for their effects and stuff like that as well. So that's just kind of the thing, is a lot of people are going to be really going to be siding against Drytron in this format, because a lot of people are going to be probably expecting Drytron to be really super powerful. So if you don't end up siding properly against Drytron, it's just really going to suck for you. So that I do have it at number 2 because of how powerful it is, but it's not number 1 because a lot of people are probably going to expect this to come in their tournament, and they're going to have it really prepared in their side deck to counter Drytron by playing Drolls and playing the Cycle Readers and stuff like that. But yeah, that is my number 2. Now let's get into my number. Yeah, you see that correctly. Number 1 is Sky Striker. Yeah. Oh boy. Holy shit. Now, in the tournament, it did end up getting second place, so technically it should be number 2 because it did lose to a virtual world matchup. Now, virtual world matchup, it seems like this would be a worse, or it seems like a bad matchup when you Sky Striker versus Virtual World. It seems like Sky Striker seems to have a bad matchup against Virtual World. Maybe that's why Virtual World did so good, and people were just playing a lot of Sky Striker in this format, and then just Virtual World is just kind of a really good deck to counteract Sky Striker. But even then, I don't want to say that, because even then, it's like, this is still a really powerful control deck. Engage at 1 is super ridiculous, and Kagari can get at it back and get it multiple times a turn. That's absolutely ridiculous. It only needs 1 monster. A lot of Mystic Mind variants of the deck is starting to sprout up because of that as well, because they only need 1 monster on the field and stuff like that. Really powerful control deck. It has Widow Anchor, has Shark Cannon, which is a DD Crow. It can play a lot of hand traps in its deck as well. It can play the Mystic Mind, which is absolutely ridiculous as well. This is just a really, really, really good control deck, especially with Engage at 1 now, because now you have your Searcher in the archetype that's not once per turn. If you end up having 3 or more spells, you get to draw 1 card. Oh boy, this is going to be a fun format with this. But then again, it didn't top the event. It nearly did. It came second, but did not top the event. But I still have it as my number 1. I'm going to believe in the hype right now. Maybe when the full format comes out and stuff like that, it's going to maybe get knocked down a peg. People are going to be prepared for the Sky Striker matchup. But it's going to be very interesting to watch, because now the next big event in this new format is going to be the YCS that is happening on July 10th and 11th. I think it's the 10th and 11th. It's either the 10th and 11th or the 11th and the 12th. I think it's the 10th and the 11th, though. Those are going to be very interesting to watch, because that is going to be the big event for this format, and people are going to be going into this new format with their new decks and stuff like that. And I'm expecting Sky Striker to be number 1 in that as well. Yeah, just going to be a very interesting format. Probably going to make another video on this in a couple weeks once that YCS happens and we get all the breakdowns and stuff like that as well. So this is more just a prediction than it is a actual what the top 5 decks is, because again, we're not even in the format yet. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel. I do upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with a stream on either Saturday or Sunday. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.